to ask every member of the House to join our bipartisan efforts to combat firearms trafficking and co-sponsor H.R. 452, the Gun Trafficking Prevention Act. Earlier this year, I was honored to join colleagues on both sides of the aisle to introduce this common-sense proposal to make firearms trafficking a federal crime for the first time and to impose stiff new penalties on straw purchasers. Responding fire, Mike Cipollini and Tomas Kachevka were those colleagues who are now no longer with us. Here's Tomas. He was just a 19-year-old who had just joined the volunteer fire department. It turned out that the fire was set by a convicted felon, William Spengler. He previously served 17 years in prison for killing his grandmother with a hammer. Spengler ambushed these first responders and sprayed them with bullets. Despite his criminal record, Spengler walked into a gun store alongside a straw purchaser to obtain guns to be used to kill these brave men. As Mr. Scardino said yesterday, he supports our bipartisan legislation because he wants to keep guns out of the hands of deranged killers, create a deterrent to providing guns to dangerous criminals, and prevent more tragic deaths like these. After working on this legislation for several years, Ms. Maloney and I have never been more hopeful that we can pass it with significant bipartisan support. I urge all my colleagues to co-sponsor this bill. And Mr. Thompson, just very briefly, one of the things that has been said over and over again, and we hear it from the NRA, is that we are to deal with the laws that we already have. Well, right now, there's a phenomenal loophole with the laws that we already have. And law enforcement, by the way, brought this to the attention of our committee, and they didn't ask for a trafficking law. They begged for it because, as was testified to yesterday in the hearing, those who wanted some kind of crimes, they're always looking for what they call a hustle. They're looking for something to make their money off of. And the witnesses told us yesterday, as a matter of fact, the head of the San Francisco police said that it's become easier to deal in guns and more lucrative than to deal in drugs. And so a lot of folks that would normally be going to deal in drugs are now dealing in guns. Why? Because there is no dedicated trafficking law, and this is what our bill will do. And it also will increase those penalties for straw purchasers. So I want to thank the gentleman for by the way, for your hard work. You've done an outstanding job in bringing members of the House together to forge ahead with regard to legislation to address these issues, and I want to thank you. And I yield back to the gentleman.
Well, I thank the